Today is the Feast of the Sacred Heart. We have a feast day thanks to the efforts of St. John Eudes, who designed a liturgy for the feast. And the conversations at more or less the same time, the late 17th century, between St. Margaret Mary Alacoque and the Jesuit Claude de la Colombière. Claude was the receiver of the accounts of the visions of Margaret Mary. She entrusted him with these great experiences of a God who loves. So the feast celebrates the love of God. There may be something there that we should think about, that we need to be reminded to celebrate the love of God. For the 3-year cycle of the feast, we're presented with 3 different gospel passages. Today's "Come to me, all you who labour and are heavily burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for I am gentle and humble of heart." This reading is all invitation. Come to me, take my yoke, I am gentle. That gentleness is a word that comes back again in Matthew's Gospel to describe the Jesus entering Jerusalem and the characteristics of discipleship which we hear in the Sermon on the Mount. In our little house chapel upstairs, we have an icon with this text, which Jesus is holding. In this icon, as in many icons, Jesus looks fierce, not gentle. It almost seems to contradict the gospel text. And yet, deeper consideration helps us realize that this is not ferocity, but intensity. Sports have taken over the language of intensity, but what it means here is that there is no room for anything but gentleness. This completeness of focus is what Margaret Mary saw in her visions, and what we see now in pictures and our own statue, as the heart is bursting through the flesh. There is no room for anything but God's love. This is what we celebrate in the feast. The gospel in the second cycle is the water and the blood flowing from the side of our Lord at the moment of his death, when he pours out his life and hands over the Spirit. He empties himself to make room for us in the life of God. And the third of the gospel readings for this feast is the lost sheep. It is one of the 3 stories of the going out and gathering in. The lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. And what it teaches us is that 99 is not enough. God desires that the 100 be completed. So today, let's remember the love of God, which is intense in its gentleness, creative of space in its outpouring, and desires a completeness for the gathering in.